Here's something that will genuinely disturb you. The habits most likely to give you cancer before you turn 60 are not the ones you're worried about. They're not the obvious ones. They're not the ones you've already cut out. They are the quiet, ordinary, completely unremarkable things you did this morning before you even finished your first cup of coffee. And that is precisely what makes them so dangerous. Every year, cancer diagnoses in people under 60 are climbing, not slightly, dramatically. A landmark study published in the journal BMJ Oncology analyzed cancer trends across 44 countries and found that early-onset cancers appearing in people under 50, increased by 79% in just 3 decades. Thyroid cancer, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, stomach cancer, all rising, all showing up decades earlier than they used to. So what changed? Our DNA didn't change. Our bodies didn't suddenly start malfunctioning on their own. What changed was our daily behavior. The invisible things we do, automatically, every single day, that we never once considered a threat. Hi, I'm Dr. Chester. For over 16 years, I've worked with patients on the front lines of cancer prevention. And the pattern I keep seeing over and over again isn't people who smoked for 40 years or drank heavily their whole lives. It's people who did everything they thought was fine. Normal people, living normal lives, eating what everyone around them eats, doing what everyone around them does, and getting cancer at 47 or 52 or 55. Today I want to talk about 9 of those habits, not to scare you, but because the science is clear, and most people have never been told this information in plain language. Once you know what these habits actually do inside your body at the cellular level, you will never look at them the same way again. And that awareness alone can add years, possibly decades, to your life. Before we get into it, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this research reach people who genuinely need it. Thank you. Habit 1. Eating after 9 p.m. Let's start with something almost everyone does. You get home late, you're tired, you're hungry, you heat something up and eat at 9, 10, maybe 11 o'clock at night. Then you go to sleep within a couple of hours. This feels harmless. It's just timing, right? Wrong. When you eat late at night and then lie down, your body cannot properly process the food the way it would if you were upright and active. Stomach acid refluxes, repeatedly, night after night. Even if you don't feel classic heartburn, microscopic acid exposure to your esophagus accumulates silently over months and years. A study published in Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention found that eating dinner within 2 hours of going to bed was associated with a significantly elevated risk of both breast and prostate cancer. And the researchers believe the mechanism is disruption of melatonin-mediated tumor suppression. Here's what that means in simple terms. Melatonin, the hormone your brain releases at night, doesn't just help you sleep. It actively suppresses tumor growth. When you eat late, your body delays melatonin release to deal with digestion. That delay cuts into your nightly cancer-fighting window. Try to finish your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Not forever, not perfectly, but consistently. Your body uses that nighttime window to repair DNA damage accumulated during the day. Give it the chance to do its job. Habit 2. Sitting for more than 6 hours a day. This one is going to be uncomfortable to hear, especially if you work at a desk. Most people believe that as long as they exercise, they've canceled out the sitting. Go to the gym for 45 minutes. Sit at a desk for 9 hours. It evens out, right? It does not. Researchers from the American Cancer Society tracked over 150,000 adults and published their findings in the American Journal of Epidemiology. What they found shocked the medical community. Women who sat for 6 or more hours per day had a 10% higher overall cancer mortality risk than women who sat for less than 3 hours, even after accounting for physical activity levels. The exercise didn't fully cancel out the sitting. Why? Because prolonged sitting creates a state of metabolic stagnation. Your muscles go quiet, blood flow slows, and your body's ability to regulate insulin drops sharply. Chronically elevated insulin, even slightly elevated, not diabetic levels, just chronically above optimal, stimulates a protein called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. And IGF-1 is essentially fertilizer for abnormal cell growth. It tells cells to divide, 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 divide. And the more unregulated cell division you have, the higher your mutation risk. The fix isn't complicated. Stand up every 45 to 60 minutes. Walk for 5 minutes. Set a timer if you have to. The interruption of sitting matters more than most people realize, and the science is unambiguous. Habit 3. Using your phone in the dark at night. This one sounds like fear-mongering. I understand. But stay with me for just a moment, because the biological chain here is very real. When you use your phone in a dark room, especially in bed before sleep, the blue light emitted by the screen penetrates your retina and sends a signal directly to your brain's pineal gland. That signal says, it's still daytime. Stop making melatonin. We talked about melatonin in Habit 1, but the cancer connection goes even deeper here. A major study from Harvard Medical School found that women who worked night shifts and were regularly exposed to light at night had significantly higher rates of breast cancer compared to women who slept in complete darkness. The same researchers demonstrated that melatonin directly inhibited the growth of breast cancer cells in laboratory conditions. When melatonin was suppressed, those cancer cells grew faster. This isn't about a single night on your phone. This is about doing it every night for years, which most people in the developed world now do. You're essentially running a low-grade suppression of one of your body's most important anti-cancer hormones, night after night, for years. The fix is simple. No screens 60 minutes before bed. If you absolutely must use your phone, use night mode and the dimmest setting possible. Sleeping in complete darkness, blackout curtains, no LED lights, is one of the cheapest and most underrated cancer preventive choices you can make. Habit 4. Drinking very hot beverages. Tea, coffee, hot chocolate. These are comforting, healthy, even encouraged. But there is one specific way that millions of people drink them that the World Health Organization has formally classified as a probable carcinogen: temperature. In 2016, the WHO's International Agency for Research on Cancer reviewed the evidence and concluded that drinking beverages above 65 degrees Celsius, that's about 149 degrees Fahrenheit, is probably carcinogenic to humans, specifically for esophageal cancer. Esophageal cancer is one of the deadliest cancers in the world, with a 5-year survival rate of around 20%. And the mechanism is straightforward. When you repeatedly expose the delicate lining of your esophagus to burning hot liquid, you cause tiny thermal injuries. Your body repairs them. You burn it again. Your body repairs again. This cycle of injury and repair accelerates cell turnover in the esophageal lining. And the faster cells divide, the higher the chance one of those divisions produces a mutation that doesn't get caught and corrected. Countries with the highest rates of esophageal cancer, parts of Iran, China, and South America, where piping hot tea is a cultural staple, confirm this pattern across populations. The solution is not to stop drinking tea or coffee. The solution is to let it cool for 4 to 5 minutes before drinking. That's it. A thermometer study showed that simply waiting 4 minutes drops a typical cup from above 65 degrees Celsius to a safe temperature. One of the easiest habit changes on this entire list. Habit 5. Treating chronic stress as normal. We live in a culture that treats being stressed as a personality trait. People wear it like a badge. I'm so busy. I'm so stressed. And because everyone around us is stressed too, it starts to feel like just the baseline state of modern life. It is not normal. And your cancer risk is paying the price for normalizing it. Chronic stress. Not the occasional acute stress of a deadline, but the grinding, never turns off, constant low-level stress that millions of people live under, chronically elevates a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol, over time, does something alarming to your immune system's cancer surveillance function. Your immune system contains cells called natural killer cells, or NK cells. Their job is to patrol your body, find abnormal or precancerous cells, and destroy them before they become a problem. This happens thousands of times per day in a healthy body. You will never know it happened because your NK cells caught the problem early. Chronic cortisol suppresses NK cell activity. A study in the journal Psychosomatic Medicine measured NK cell function in medical students during exam periods, a reliably stressful time, versus relaxed periods. NK activity dropped significantly during high-stress periods. Now scale that suppression out to years of chronic stress, and your cancer surveillance system is running at a fraction of its design capacity. Managing stress is not a luxury. It is a cancer prevention strategy. Meditation, time in nature, social connection, adequate sleep, limiting the news. These are not soft wellness suggestions. They are biological interventions with measurable impact on your immune system's ability to catch cancer early, before it becomes cancer. Habit 6. Eating processed meat. Daily bacon with breakfast, deli turkey in your sandwich, hot dogs at the weekend, a little salami on your crackers. Individually, each of these seems trivial. In 2015, the WHO formally classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen. Group 1 means the evidence that it causes cancer in humans is conclusive. The same category as cigarettes and asbestos. Not the same level of risk as cigarettes, but the same level of certainty in the evidence. The specific cancer most strongly linked is colorectal cancer. The WHO's review found that consuming 50 grams of processed meat per day, roughly 2 strips of bacon or 2 slices of deli meat, increases your colorectal cancer risk by approximately 18%. The mechanism involves compounds called N-nitroso compounds, which form when nitrates used to preserve processed meats interact with proteins in the meat during digestion. These compounds directly damage DNA in the cells lining your colon. Additionally, the high heat used in cooking processed meats generates other carcinogenic compounds, including heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. This doesn't mean you can never eat bacon again. It means making it an occasional food rather than a daily habit. Swap deli meats for whole food proteins, eggs, legumes, fish, unprocessed poultry, most of the time. The dose determines the danger, and daily exposure over decades is where the risk accumulates. Habit 7. Skipping sleep regularly. If you routinely get fewer than 6 hours of sleep, you are not just tired. You are running one of the most consistent cancer risk factors in the epidemiological literature. A review published in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews, analyzing data from over 700,000 participants, found that short sleep duration was significantly associated with increased risk of several cancers, including colorectal cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer. People sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night had meaningfully elevated risk across the board. The reasons come back, again, to melatonin and immune surveillance. But there's another mechanism worth understanding: DNA repair. Your body does the vast majority of its DNA repair work while you sleep, during the deeper stages of the sleep cycle. Every single day, your cells accumulate DNA damage from UV radiation, environmental toxins, normal metabolic processes, and simple replication errors. Sleep is when your body's repair crews go to work fixing those errors. If you consistently cut sleep short, you are consistently interrupting that repair cycle. Over years, unrepaired DNA mutations accumulate, and accumulated DNA mutations are how cancer starts. 7 to 9 hours is not a preference, it is a biological requirement. Sleep is when your body does maintenance. Skipping it is like never changing the oil in your car and being shocked when the engine fails. Habit 8. Ignoring excess body fat around the abdomen. Here is something the medical community needs to communicate far more clearly. Obesity is the second leading preventable cause of cancer in the United States. Not a distant second, an uncomfortably close second to tobacco. The American Cancer Society links excess body weight to at least 13 types of cancer. Not 1 or 2, 13, including breast, colorectal, liver, pancreatic, kidney, thyroid, and ovarian cancers. And the most dangerous fat is not the fat you can pinch under your skin. It's the visceral fat, the fat packed around your organs, deep in your abdominal cavity. You can't see it in the mirror. a person can look relatively normal and carry dangerous amounts of visceral fat. Visceral fat is not passive tissue. It is metabolically active. It produces inflammatory chemicals called cytokines, interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, that create a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation throughout your body. Inflammation is one of the most well-established drivers of cancer development. It damages DNA, promotes abnormal cell growth, and creates an environment where cancer cells can hide from your immune system. Visceral fat also drives insulin resistance, which, as we discussed earlier, elevates IGF-1 and further accelerates abnormal cell division. You don't need to achieve an ideal body weight to dramatically reduce your risk. Losing just 5 to 10% of your body weight, particularly through dietary changes that reduce visceral fat specifically, measurably lowers inflammatory markers and cancer risk. The Japanese dietary approaches we've discussed on this channel, fermented foods, fiber, omega-3s, are remarkably effective at specifically targeting visceral fat. This is not coincidence. Habit 9. Avoiding the doctor until something feels wrong. This last one is the most heartbreaking habit on this list because it's the one that turns survivable cancers into unsurvivable ones. Most early-stage cancers feel like nothing. Stage 1 breast cancer feels like nothing. Early colorectal cancer feels like nothing. Early cervical cancer, pancreatic cancer, skin cancer, nothing. The entire biological advantage of catching cancer early is that it happens before you can feel it. And yet, the majority of people in developed nations avoid routine screenings, skip annual checkups, and operate on the unconscious belief that if something were truly wrong, they would know. They would feel it. They would have a symptom. This is biologically false, and it costs lives constantly. Here's what the data shows. Colorectal cancer caught at stage 1 has a 5-year survival rate of approximately 90%. Caught at stage 4, after it has spread, that survival rate collapses to around 14%. The cancer is the same cancer. The difference is when it was found. And the difference in when it is found is almost entirely determined by whether someone had a routine screening or waited until they felt symptoms. The specific screenings every person should discuss with their doctor based on current guidelines. A pap smear and HPV test starting at 21. Colonoscopy starting at 45, or earlier with family history. Mammogram starting at 40 to 45. Low-dose CT scan for lung cancer if you're a smoker or former smoker. Annual skin check if you have significant sun exposure history. And baseline blood work, including inflammatory markers, blood glucose, and liver function. These are not optional extras for people who are anxious about their health. These are the tools that catch cancer when it is still the easiest version of itself to treat. The bigger picture. Let me step back and tell you what all 9 of these habits have in common, because there is a thread that runs through every single one. They all create, in different ways, the same 3 internal conditions: chronic inflammation, suppressed immune surveillance, and accelerated DNA damage without adequate repair. Cancer does not happen because your body suddenly malfunctioned one day. It happens because over months and years, small biological insults accumulated faster than your body's repair systems could handle them. Chronic inflammation was never fully resolved. Melatonin was chronically suppressed. NK cells were running at half capacity. DNA repair windows were cut short night after night. Visceral fat was pumping out inflammatory cytokines around the clock. None of these things done once causes cancer, but done habitually for years and decades, they shift the statistical odds in a direction you do not want them shifted. The good news, and this is genuinely good news, is that every single mechanism I've described today is reversible. The gut microbiome restructures itself within weeks. Melatonin production normalizes within days of reducing blue light exposure. NK cell function recovers when stress is managed. Visceral fat responds to dietary changes faster than subcutaneous fat does. Your body wants to function correctly. It just needs you to stop working against it. Let's lock in everything we covered. 1. Eating after 9 p.m. suppresses melatonin and disrupts your body's nightly cancer-fighting window. Finish your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. 2. Sitting for more than 6 hours per day, even with exercise, elevates IGF-1 through insulin dysregulation and feeds abnormal cell growth. Stand up and move for 5 minutes every hour. 3. Blue light from phones in the dark suppresses melatonin, removing one of your body's primary tumor suppression hormones. No screens 60 minutes before sleep. Sleep in complete darkness. 4. Drinking beverages above 65 degrees Celsius causes repeated thermal injury to your esophagus, accelerating cell turnover and mutation risk. Let hot drinks cool for 4 to 5 minutes. 5. Chronic stress suppresses natural killer cell activity, degrading your immune system's ability to catch precancerous cells. Stress management is a cancer prevention strategy, not a luxury. 6. Processed meat consumed daily delivers N-nitroso compounds that directly damage colon cell DNA. The WHO classifies processed meat as a confirmed human carcinogen. Make it an occasional food, not a daily one. 7. Sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night interrupts DNA repair cycles and suppresses immune function. 7 to 9 hours is a biological requirement, not a preference. 8. Excess visceral fat produces chronic inflammatory cytokines and drives insulin resistance, creating ideal internal conditions for cancer development. Even a 5 to 10% weight reduction measurably lowers your risk. 9. Avoiding routine screenings turns survivable early-stage cancers into late-stage ones. Colorectal cancer survival drops from 90% to 14% between stage 1 and stage 4. Get screened on schedule, every time. Your cancer risk is not written in stone. It is not purely genetic. It is not entirely out of your hands. The research is unambiguous. The daily choices that feel invisible, the ones that seem too small to matter, are the ones quietly shaping your biology over years and decades. You now know what 9 of those choices are, and you know what to do differently. If this video helped you, I want to ask you to do 2 things. First, share this with someone you care about, a parent, a partner, a friend who's in their 40s or 50s and has never heard this information laid out clearly. Over 1 million people worldwide are diagnosed with cancer each year before the age of 50. Most of them had no idea the risks they were quietly accumulating. Second, subscribe and hit the like button. The biology of cancer prevention is more connected than most people realize, and the more pieces you understand, the more power you have over your own health.